Act 3, The Reckoning's Aftermath. Mia collapsed utterly exhausted into Deamos' arms. The crimson light from her mark receded, a gentle ebb, but it didn't disappear entirely. It settled into a constant, soft pulse beneath her skin, a quiet echo of the immense power that now resided within her. She was changed, profoundly and irrevocably. Her senses, once overwhelmed, now felt refined, balanced, a symphony of subtle energies and ancient whispers. She felt connected to Deamos in a way more profound than any human bond, their souls irrevocably intertwined, their very essences woven together into a single, complex tapestry. She was still Mia, but she was also the Blood-Bound Sentinel, a living bridge between worlds, capable of understanding and influencing ancient pacts and primal powers, a guardian forged in fire and shadow. Elara rushed to her sister, her steps faltering slightly on the rubble-strewn floor, tears streaming down her face, a mixture of profound relief and unadulterated terror warring in her eyes. "Mia, you did it! But what happened to you? What are you?" Her voice was a raw whisper, choked with emotion, her hands reaching out hesitantly as if unsure if Mia was truly still her sister. Mia looked at Elara, her gaze, which once so familiar, now held an ancient depth, a subtle luminescence that was both unsettling and beautiful. Then she looked at Deamos, who held her with a tenderness that defied his ancient monstrous nature. A faint, knowing smile touched her lips, a blend of weariness and quiet triumph. Her voice was soft, melodic, resonating with a deeper timbre that Elara had never heard before, a subtle echo of the ancient power that now flowed through her. Deamos, holding Mia close, his own face still pale but now devoid of the strain of his wounds, looked at Elara, his expression softened by a profound gratitude and a newfound serenity. "Your sister is now a guardian of the ancient pacts, Elara Thorne, a protector. She has embraced a destiny far greater than any of us, even I, could have fully foreseen." He extended a hand to Elara, her touch cold, but his gesture of one of genuine respect. "For your safety, and for the stability of the worlds, both human and immortal, your family lineage is now under the direct, eternal protection of the Crimson Aegis. No harm will come to you or your descendants as long as the Pact endures. This is the promise of the Blood-Bound Sentinel."
Elara, overwhelmed, but seeing the undeniable truth in her sister's changed eyes, in the silent, powerful understanding that passed between Mia and Deamos, nodded slowly. She knew her life would never be the same. The quiet, academic world she cherished had been irrevocably shattered, but her sister was alive, undeniably powerful and safe. For now. The weight of this new reality, however, still settled heavily upon her, a constant hum of the impossible. The other coven leaders, those who had gathered to witness the interrupted ritual and now its violent conclusion, entered the crypt. Their expressions were a mixture of awe, wary respect, and profound relief. The immediate threat was neutralized. Valerius, the desecrator, was gone, his essence purified into nothingness. The pact was not just restored, it was redefined, reforged, and strengthened by the emergence of the Blood-Bound Sentinel. Deamos, now standing taller, his wounds visibly healing, faced them. His ancient power, once struggling, now flowed unimpeded, augmented by the completion of the ritual. "The ancient order has been challenged and reshaped," he announced, his voice carrying the weight of millennia, but now imbued with a new authority, a subtle warmth that had been absent before. "The Blood-Scribed has fulfilled her prophecy, becoming a bridge between human and immortal, ensuring the balance.
The Crimson Aegis stands stronger than ever, under new guidance. He looked at Mia, a silent promise in his gaze, a profound connection that spoke volumes without words. He had found his anchor, his equal, his queen. Over the next few weeks, Mia embraced her new role with a quiet determination that both surprised and awed those around her. Her blood-scribed mark continued to hum with quiet, resonant power, no longer dormant, but a living, breathing part of her. She could still glimpse fragments of Deamos' memories through their unbreakable link. The roar of ancient battles, the crushing weight of lost loves, centuries of weariness, the burden of his leadership, the sheer, endless solitude of his existence. But now, she had control. She was able to sift through them, to learn from the past without being overwhelmed, drawing wisdom from his millennia of experience. This ancient knowledge, combined with her innate human empathy and curiosity, made her an extraordinary being. She also discovered new facets to her blood-bound power. She found that she could project a calming, harmonizing influence on other supernatural beings, a subtle power of peace that was vital for the fragile new alliance between the covens. She could quell nascent aggressions, soothe frayed tempers, and subtly guide conversations towards understanding rather than conflict. Her presence became a stabilizing force in the tumultuous world of the ancients, a living embodiment of the balance she now represented. This was not a power of force, but of subtle persuasion, a resonance of peace. Her relationship with Deamos deepened into an unbreakable, complex love, one forged in fear, sacrifice, and the merging of their very souls. He was still the ancient, powerful vampire lord, the formidable leader of the Crimson Aegis, but he was also her partner, bound to her not just by pact, but by a profound shared destiny. She helped him come to terms with his memory eater lineage, finding ways to harness its power for insight rather than consumption, turning a cursed inheritance into a unique strength. With Mia's influence, Deamos began to explore the gentler aspects of his lineage, learning to absorb and understand memories without devouring souls, becoming a keeper of history rather than its destroyer. Their love was a confluence of human resilience and immortal wisdom, dark passion and profound understanding, a bond unlike any other known to either world. It was a love that defied all natural laws, an eternal intertwining of fate and will. The hidden supernatural communities now knew of the Blood-Bound Sentinel, a figure of myth and prophecy, a living legend. Her emergence marked the beginning of a new era, a fragile but hopeful balance between the human and immortal worlds. While Valerius was gone, the threat of chaos always lingered, the whispers of rogue factions still echoing in the shadows. The balance was fragile, precarious, constantly demanding vigilance. But Mia, with Deamos by her side, was ready to face it. She was no longer just Mia Thorne, the quiet book restorer. She was the Blood-Bound Sentinel, a unique entity, a living pact, a force of nature, and the beloved mate of an ancient vampire lord, forever destined to guard the interwoven worlds. Her story only just beginning. The crimson mark, once a sign of burden, was now a symbol of immense power, profound love, and a destiny that stretched into eternity. a testament to the unforeseen strength of a human heart. Elara's burden. Elara's world, once so comfortably mundane, had been irrevocably shattered. The sight of her sister, Mia, glowing with terrifying black light, then transforming into a beacon of crimson power, was an image seared into her mind. The concept of vampires, ancient pacts, memory eaters, and a blood-bound sentinel was a dizzying, nightmarish reality. She found herself an unwilling guest in Deamos's manor, under the protection of beings she instinctively feared, even as one of them held her sister's heart. Rhys had explained her lineage's eternal protection, but it felt more like eternal imprisonment, or at best, an eternal, fearful dependence. She watched Mia, now serene, powerful, and intimately connected to Deamos, with a complex mix of awe, grief, and a burning resentment. This wasn't her sister anymore. Not fully. The Mia she knew, the one who loved dusty books and quiet evenings, was gone, subsumed by this ancient, monstrous destiny. Elara felt a profound sense of loss, a separation that ran deeper than mere physical distance. She was alone, caught between two worlds, belonging to neither.
One evening, unable to bear the oppressive opulence and the constant hum of ancient magic in the manor, Elara wandered into the extensive Gothic gardens. The moonlight cast long, eerie shadows, and the scent of night-blooming jasmine felt heavy, suffocating. Rhys found her there, his silent approach startling her. "You are troubled, Elara Thorne," he stated, his voice devoid of judgment, but infused with an ancient understanding. "Troubled?" Elara scoffed, her voice laced with bitterness. "My sister is a superhuman vampire hybrid. My world has been turned upside down, and I'm a hostage in a monster's mansion. Troubled doesn't quite cover it, Rhys." Rhys paused, his gaze fixed on her. "Lord Deamos and Maya do not consider you a hostage. You are family, a protected member of the Blood-Scribed lineage." "Family?" Elara laughed, a hollow, humorless sound. "Maya is family. I'm just the human collateral, the one who reminds them of what she used to be." She shivered, clutching her arms. "I don't belong here. I want my life back." "Your life, as it was, no longer exists," Rhys said gently, his words cold but factual. "Valerius would have taken it, or worse. The choice was made for you, and now you are safe. That is not a small thing." "Safe, but not free," Elara retorted, turning to face him, her eyes flashing. "What happens to me now? Am I just supposed to live out my days in this gilded cage, watching my sister become this?" She gestured vaguely towards the manor, towards the world Maya now inhabits. "I can't just forget. I can't just accept." Rhys's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Acceptance is a journey, not a destination, but you are not without purpose here, Elara Thorne. Your human perspective, your grounding in the mundane, will be invaluable to Maya. She will need someone to remind her of the world she once inhabited, even as she protects it. And perhaps you can find a new purpose for yourself." He reached into his doublet, pulling out a small leather-bound journal. It looked ancient, its cover unmarked, its pages seemingly blank. "This was left by your ancestor, the first Elara Thorne, the one who made the initial pact. It is said to record truths that even ancient vampires might forget or deny. Lord Deamos believes you may be uniquely suited to decipher it."
Elara took the journal, her fingers tracing the worn leather. It felt warm, almost alive in her hands. A flicker of her old academic curiosity, a faint echo of her passion for history, stirred within her, pushing through the layers of fear and resentment. "What kind of truths?" she whispered. Truths about the nature of the Pact, the deeper secrets of the Blood-Scribed, and perhaps a way to navigate this new reality. Rice replied, his eyes gleaming with a hint of something mischievous. "It is written in a language only those with a familial connection to the first Blood-Scribe can access. Your human mind, unburdened by ancient biases, may be the key to unlocking its secrets." He left her then, disappearing back into the shadows of the garden, leaving Elara alone with the journal and a glimmer of a new, terrifying purpose. Her fear was still paramount, her grief for her old life profound, but a tiny seed of curiosity had been planted. Could she truly find a place in this impossible world? Or was this just another form of manipulation, another chain in her gilded cage? The journal pulsed faintly in her hands, a silent invitation to a past, both ancient and personal. The lingering shadows, a new threat emerges. Though Valerius was gone, his influence, like venom, lingered. Rice's network of spies, now working overtime, reported unsettling developments. Rogue covens, once allied with Valerius out of fear or ambition, had scattered, but many were not returning to the fold of the Crimson Aegis. Instead, they were disappearing, their territories falling silent, a strange, unnatural quiet spreading across the supernatural underworld. It wasn't the overt aggression of Valerius, but a stealthier, more insidious threat. Mia, through her enhanced blood-bound senses, felt it too, a faint, almost imperceptible hum of corrupted energy, like a discordant note in the symphony of the city. It wasn't Valerius's signature, but something disturbingly similar, a residual malignancy that seemed to be coalescing, drawing strength from his defeat. She would wake sometimes, her mark throbbing, with fragmented images in her mind, husks of ancient power, whispered fragments of forgotten rituals, and a chilling sense of being watched. Deamos, ever vigilant, sensed it too. He spent countless hours poring over ancient texts, consulting with Rice, his brow furrowed in concentration. Valerius sought to consume the ethereal heart, to become a god, but the source of his power, his true corruption, was far older. His ambition merely awakened something that had lain dormant, a primordial darkness. Now that he's gone, that darkness seeks a new host, a new conduit. Mia's knock pulsed in agreement. "I feel it, Deamos. It's like an echo, a resonance of his evil, but without his conscious will. It's hungry." She shivered, despite the warmth of his presence. Rice entered the study, his face grim. "My lord, the reports are consistent. Several smaller covens, even those loyal to the Aegis, have vanished. No struggle, no trace, just silence. And in each location there is a faint residue of shadow magic, unlike Valerius's, but similar in its underlying corruption. It is as Mia describes, a silent consumption." Deamos slammed his fist on the ancient table, a rare display of frustration. He planned for this. He planted seeds of corruption, knowing that even if he fell, his legacy of chaos would continue. He sought not just to rule, but to unravel the very fabric of existence. He turned to Mia, his eyes filled with a new, dangerous resolve. This is a deeper threat, Mia. Valerius was a monster of ambition. This is a monster of pure elemental malevolence. We must find its source before it consolidates and becomes unstoppable. Your unique connection, your ability to purify and understand tainted magic will be our only weapon. Mia nodded, her hand instinctively going to her pulsing mark. Her new power, the Blood-Bound Sentinel's ability to balance light and shadow, was about to be tested in ways she couldn't yet imagine. Valerius was gone, but the true battle, the one for the soul of their intertwined worlds, had only just begun. The crimson mark, once a symbol of survival, was now the vanguard against an encroaching, nameless dread.
Act 4. Whispers in the Aether. The weeks that followed Valerius's demise were a precarious dance on the edge of a newly forged peace. Mia, now the blood-bound sentinel, found herself immersed in a world far more complex and dangerous than even her transformation had implied. Her bond with Deamos deepened with every passing day, a constant, resonant hum beneath her skin that intertwined their consciousness. She saw glimpses of his past, not just the pain, but the moments of profound beauty, the quiet joys hidden amidst centuries of solitude, and the immense, crushing weight of his duty. This constant, intimate connection allowed her to understand him in a way no other being ever could, cementing their love into an unbreakable spiritual fusion. Yet, despite this profound intimacy, a subtle tension began to creep into their relationship. Deamos, ever the ancient leader, found it difficult to relinquish control, even to his mate. His millennia of solitude and self-reliance had ingrained a deep-seated protectiveness bordering on possessiveness, especially concerning Mia's safety. He saw her burgeoning power as both a miracle and a profound vulnerability, a beacon that drew both hope and immense danger. He watched her constantly, his gaze often shadowed by an ancient fear, the fear of losing her, of witnessing her consumed by the very darkness she now sought to purify. This subtle possessiveness, born of love and terror, chafed against Mia's newly awakened independence, her fierce desire to wield her power for herself, to truly be a partner, not merely a protected treasure. Mia, for her part, struggled with the sheer scope of her new abilities. The memory weaver aspect of her blood-bound nature was still raw, volatile. She could absorb and redirect tainted magic, but doing so was agonizing, like tearing fragments of her own soul. Each act of purification left her drained, her senses buzzing, haunted by the residual echoes of the corrupted energy she had absorbed. The lingering whispers of Valerius's evil, the formless malevolence that Reese's spies were detecting, were a constant pressure on her expanded consciousness, a low, discordant hum threatening to shatter her hard-won balance.
Their essences trapped within the ancestral line, awaiting release or redemption. This new purpose, the deciphering of ancient truths, grounded her, but also deepened her fear. She was actively seeking out knowledge that shattered her perception of reality, plunging her further into a world she never asked to join. Reports from Riss's network escalated. The silent disappearances of rogue covens continued, but now signs of struggle began to emerge. ancient wards inexplicably broken from within, sentinels found as desiccated husks, their essence completely drained. It wasn't the signature of Valerius's shadow blades, but something far more insidious, leaving behind a chilling void. The attacks were surgical, leaving no trace of the attacker, but only the terrifying evidence of their victims. The lingering shadows Mia felt were growing, coalescing into a more defined threat, drawing closer to the heart of the Crimson Igus's territories. One pre-dawn morning, Mia woke up with a gasp, her mark blazing crimson on her wrist, but her mind was filled with a terrifying waking nightmare. She had been subjected to a psychic assault, a probe that felt like a cold, skeletal finger pressing against her consciousness. The attack was formless, yet acutely intelligent, seeking weaknesses, hunting for information. She fought it off instinctively, her blood-bound power flaring, repelling the intruder, but the encounter left her shaken, trembling, her sheets soaked with sweat. Deamos was by her side in an instant, his cold hands tracing the lines of tension on her face. "What was it, Mia?" he demanded, his voice a low growl of ancient fury, his eyes blazing crimson in the dim light. "It wasn't Valerius," she whispered, still trembling. "It was colder, more patient. It felt like a probe, Deamos, like it was trying to map my mind, to understand my power. And its signature, it echoed the malevolence of Valerius, but it had no distinct will. It was like a refined hunger, a pure primal need for essence." Deamos' face tightened into a mask of grim realization. The primordial hunger. I feared this. Valerius, in his pursuit of the ethereal heart, awakened something far older, more dangerous than himself. He merely stirred it. Now it is sentient, seeking to complete what he began. It is a parasitic entity, older than our covens, that drains life force, essence, and magic, leaving only husks. He paused, his gaze fixed on her burgeoning mark. "And it is drawn to you, Mia, your blood-bound nature, your connection to the ethereal heart makes you the ultimate prize."
Rhys burst into the room, his ancient face unusually pale. "My lord, the wards on the ancient ritual chambers beneath the north wing have been breached, not by force, but by a subtle, insidious draining. We found one of our sentinels, a husk." Deamos slammed his fist on the ancient table beside the bed, a sound that reverberated through the very manor. "It is evolving, adapting. It learned from Valerius, and now it seeks to improve upon his methods. It uses shadow magical resonance to infiltrate and siphon. It is trying to find a way to access the ethereal heart through your lineage, Mia, but not by raw power. It seeks to mimic you, to become the Blood-Bound Sentinel itself." This revelation sent a fresh wave of terror through Mia. The Primordial Hunger wasn't just a threat, it was a shapeshifter, a mimic. It intended to become her, to steal her very identity and use it to unmake the world. The urgency of their situation intensified tenfold. Deamos immediately began to devise a strategy. He convened the remaining loyal coven leaders, a council of ancient weary beings, their faces etched with the weight of centuries. Mia, now an undeniable presence, sat by his side. Her blood-bound senses allowed her to map the fluctuating energies of the primordial hunger, to pinpoint its subtle incursions, guiding Deamos' defenses with a precision no mere vampire could achieve. Rhys, meanwhile, worked tirelessly with Elara, pushing her to decipher more of the ancient journal. The revelations came slowly, in agonizing fragments. Elara discovered prophecies of a shadow sentinel, a dark mirror to Mia,
a blood-scribed corrupted from within, who would willingly surrender her essence to the primordial hunger, allowing it to become a corporeal, godlike entity. The fear that Mia could somehow be transformed into the Shadow Sentinel, or that the hunger could use Elara herself as a conduit, hung heavy in the air. One harrowing night, the Primordial Hunger launched a full-scale assault on the outer wards of the manor. It wasn't an army of vampires, but a swarm of shadowy, amorphous entities, pure manifestations of the parasitic essence, each one seeking to infiltrate and drain. The manor's defenses, ancient and powerful, strained under the relentless, insidious pressure. Deamos, Mia, Reese, and the remaining Crimson Aegis' forces fought bravely, their combined powers creating a dazzling, terrifying display of ancient magic and raw strength. Mia, using her blood-bound power, became a conduit of purification, absorbing stray tendrils of the primordial hunger, transmuting them, creating localized bursts of pure, cleansing energy that disintegrated the shadowy forms. Each act was agonizing, leaving her weakened, but she pushed through, fueled by a fierce determination. Deamos fought by her side, a whirlwind of dark power, his
fangs extended, his eyes blazing, a protective fury radiating from him. Their combined power was immense, but the hunger was relentless, seemingly endless. As Mia purified a particularly dense cluster of shadowy entities, a disturbing realization washed over her. Through the essence she was absorbing, she glimpsed not just the hunger's malevolence, but a profound emptiness. It didn't seek power for dominion like Valerius. It sought power for sustenance, to fill an infinite cosmic void. It was a being of pure primal need, a parasitic force that consumed all to exist. And in its emptiness she felt a chilling, terrifying echo of Deamos' own suppressed memory-eating hunger, a connection to the very darkness he had fought for centuries. The primordial hunger was the ultimate, unrestrained manifestation of his lineage's curse. This intimate understanding both terrified and empowered her, offering a potential path to control, but at a terrible risk. The attack was eventually repelled, but the cost was heavy. Several Aegis sentinels were lost, reduced to husks. Deamos, though standing, was deeply wounded, his power reserves dangerously depleted. Mia, too, was on the verge of collapse, her mark throbbing painfully. They had won the battle, but the war felt far from over. The primordial hunger had probed their defenses, taken lives, and gained valuable information. It would return stronger, smarter, and with a more precise target. In the aftermath, Deamos held Mia close, his cold embrace a desperate comfort. "We underestimated it," he murmured, his voice heavy with fatigue and grim determination. "It adapts too quickly. It learns from every encounter. We need to find its core, its anchor, before it becomes truly invincible." His gaze met hers, a silent question passing between them. He knew what he was asking, and he knew only she could answer. Mia nodded, her eyes resolute despite her exhaustion. "I know. My blood-bound power connects me to its nature. I can track it, Deamos. I can find its anchor. But it will require me to delve deeper into the shadow, to risk being consumed myself." She looked at him,
her heart aching with both fear and love. And you will have to trust me fully, to walk that path, to let me go where you cannot follow. Deamos's face tightened, the ancient fear returning to his eyes. He hated the thought of her facing this alone, of exposing her to such profound risk, but he knew with a chilling certainty that she was their only hope. He clenched his jaw, a raw emotion twisting his features. We will find it together, Mia. You will not walk into the Shao alone. Not now. Not ever. His words were a vow, a promise of unwavering support, even in the face of the ultimate darkness. The unspoken tension between his possessiveness and her independence still lingered, but for this fight it was temporarily subsumed by their shared desperate purpose. Meanwhile, Elara hunched over the ancient journal, her mind buzzing with the horrors she had witnessed, finally deciphered a full, coherent passage. It spoke of the Void Nexus, a place of primordial nothingness, the birthplace of the Primordial Hunger, a dimension where all essence was consumed. It was not a physical location, but a metaphysical tear in reality, a wound in the fabric of existence. And the journal hinted at a dangerous, ancient ritual that could temporarily open a gateway to this nexus, but only for a blood-scribed of the purest intent and most profound power, a blood-bound sentinel. A terrifying plan began to form in Elara's mind, a desperate, dangerous gamble that would either save them all or plunge them into oblivion. The Ancients' reckoning was escalating, and the stakes were higher than ever imaginable.